We begin tonight with the Senate's Ad-hoc committee investigation into the Central Bank of Nigeria's Ways and Means program. It's a loan facility through which the CBN finances the federal government's budget shortfalls. The committee, led by Senator Jibrin Issa, is accusing the CBN of obstructing its probe into how a 30 trillion naira credit was disbursed to the Buhari administration between 2015 and 2023. Senator Issa alleges the CBN withheld crucial documents that's preventing the probe from progressing. He linked the loan to Nigeria's food scarcity and security challenges. The CBN's Director of Banking Services, Hamisu Abdullahi, denies these allegations and insists the bank has indeed provided all required documents. Now, the Special Offences Court in Lagos has refused to recuse himself from the corruption allegations brought against the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, that's Godwin Emefiele, by the EFCC. In his ruling on Wednesday, Justice Rahman Oshodi dismissed Emefiele's request for him to step aside from the trial, stating that the allegations of bias against him are unsubstantiated. On Monday, the former CBN governor's legal team submitted a request for Justice Oshodi's recusal on the basis of alleged potential bias based on previous rulings. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says the request is baseless, arguing that the trial has been conducted fairly and without prejudice. Justice Oshodi defended his ruling by referencing a 2013 decision of the sitting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekeriekun, that, quote, judicial bias is usually insufficient to justify disqualifying a judge from presiding over a case unless there are personal or extrajudicial reasons. Now let's take a closer look at this story with Jide Ologun, a constitutional lawyer. He joins me from Lagos. Thank you so much for joining us. How valid are the grounds on which Emefiele's legal counsel sought Justice Oshodi's recusal from this case?
You know, when you talk about recusal, it means a request that the judge should withdraw from the case due to a potential conflict of interest or lack of impartiality. And that request at defense counsel took place on Monday, and the Honorable Justice requested an adjournment to decide on whether he will grant it or not, because the issue of recusal is discretionary. And on sitting today, he said that he couldn't find any justification for that request to be granted. And that means we proceed with that matter. And then, unless the defense counsel is able to establish and confirm the perceived bias, then Justice Oshodi, we have to proceed with the matter. Because when you talk about judicial recusal, the officer may recuse himself or herself in any proceedings in which his or her impartiality might reasonably be questioned, including instances where the judicial officer is a party to the proceedings, you know, or has bias in respect of a material witness in the matter of controversy, or none of this has been established.
Let me come in here quickly before you move on. You did mention recusal is a request from the judge. Will it always be from the judge? Can it never be from a defendant?
No, I didn't say from the judge.
Okay.
From the defense counsel. Even though the judge also may decide to recuse himself or herself from the matter, if the discretion of the court is that I'm not likely to be not to be biased in this matter, nothing compels you to go ahead. You can drop the case file and forward it to the chief judge, who will reassign the matter to another judge to take over. And we have an instant case here. You know, recently, when appearing before Justice Binta Inyanko of the Federal High Court in Abuja, Nnamdi Kanu asked that she should recuse herself from the matter, alleging that she had refused to obey the Supreme Court's order. And joyfully, Justice Binta Inyanko decided that she will oblige Nnamdi Kanu and she recused herself and promised to send the case file back to the chief judge for reassignment and further necessary action. But do you know what happens at that point? Then that means there will be a delay in that matter, because at that point in time, it was a matter that was expected to proceed on trial, because the counsel to the federal government, Adegboyega Awomolo, her son, had addressed the court that the matter was for trial, but it could no longer hold due to the circumstances. So you don't know how long this will take. Even in matters that you don't ask for recusal, we have a matter in the High Court in Ikeja, a matter that was instituted in 2011, and we have not even done trial.
Yeah,
now,
so there's going to be a lot of wasting of time. Let me just quickly come in here.
Has been upgraded to the Court of Appeal, so it should be reassigned.
Right. Let me come in here quickly. Are there any legal guidelines or grounds, if you like, on how a judge, when accused of bias by a defendant, should agree to recuse himself from a case? Because in this case, Justice Oshodi is saying that it can't be substantiated in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, that's what it's discretionary. And if the counsel who is asking the judge to step aside can justify the bias or the conflict of interest, then a petition can be forwarded. If the judge refuses to recuse himself or herself, can be forwarded to the NJC on that matter. But primarily, it is discretionary. And let me say this, what is the foundation of this concept? If you visit the dictum of Justice Buhari, in the case of Rex and Success in 1924, the Honorable Justice said that justice must not only be done, but must also be seen to have been done. And so justice should be justice. So if a litigant perceives that he is not likely to get justice before a judge, he can ask for the judge to step aside and for the matter to be reassigned to another judge. But again, you must be able to justify your perception. And if it is considered to hold waters, then the justice will have to step aside. I just mentioned the precedent of Justice Binta Nyako, who decided on the request of Nnamdi Kanu that, okay, I will step aside from the matter and refer your case file back to the chief judge to reassign.
Right.
And we don't know when that matter will be reassigned again.
Let me take you up
it's on... It's neither here nor there. And the judge himself, like I said, may decide to excuse himself from the matter if he knows that somewhere along the line he may be biased.
Right. Justice Ologun, let me take you up quick. Well, eventually maybe. Barrister Ologun, let me just take you up on justice must be done and must be seen to have been done. Which leads me to this question. Since Justice Oshodi has refused to recuse himself from this case because the allegations of bias brought against him could not be substantiated, isn't it very likely, or is it unlikely, if you like, that the defendant may lack the confidence to see that justice has been served in this case when the ruling is concluded, the trial is concluded?
It's up to the defendant. And you see, this matter can still proceed to the Court of Appeal. And if there are grounds of law on which you believe and you are persuaded that you have not received justice, then let the appellate court attend to those situations.
Right.
But again, there's a protection in the judiciary. If litigants are allowed to throw out judges from their matters, then how many judges will sit on your matter? What about if Justice Oshodi decided to recuse himself and the matter is assigned to another judge, and 3 months into that, the litigant also requests that judge to step aside? So how many judges will step aside? And that's why I said it is discretionary. So the situation we have right now is that Justice Oshodi promised that, okay, let me look at your application asking me to step aside. And on looking at it closely, then he could not establish any conflict of interest or bias and decided not to grant it, and we proceed with the matter. Like I said, if the defense counsel is still not satisfied with that, then you can forward a petition in respect of that And maybe the NJC will advise the justice to step aside. But basically and primarily, it is in the discretion of the court. I gave us one now. Justice Nyanko willingly decided to, push the file of Nnamdi Kanu aside and push it back to the chief judge to be assigned to another judge. Right. Since Nnamdi Kanu was trying to tutor her on not respecting the decision of the Supreme Court. Well, in that case, I have told us the implication. In that case, that means the journey will be longer. We're going to have to in this judicial. We're going to have to leave the conversation here, and then it's a wait and see. Thank you so much, Jide Ologun, a constitutional lawyer, for joining us tonight. Thank you. God bless Nigeria. The federal government is expecting a $2.2 billion loan from the World Bank, which it plans to spend on 6 major projects this year. They include the Community Action for Resilience and Economic Stimulus Program, valued at $500 million, the Hope for Quality Basic Education for All project, which is scheduled to receive $552 million, Accelerating Nutrition Results in Nigeria 2.0 will get $800 million. The Solutions for the Internally Displaced and Host Communities project will receive $300 million, while the Health Security Program will also get $300 million. The Building Resilient Digital Infrastructure for Growth project will receive $500 million. Approvals for these projects are expected between March and September. Welcome back. You're watching Tonight on News Central. I'm Adeshewa Josh. A reminder of our top stories. Senate Committee on Ways and Means accuses Central Bank of Nigeria of frustrating investigation into 30 trillion naira overdraft. Judge dismisses request for his recusal from the ongoing trial of former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. And death toll rises in Sudanese military plane crash, one of the deadliest in the northeastern African nation in decades. Nigeria's former president, Goodluck Jonathan, is calling for stronger electoral institutions, legal reforms, and greater political tolerance among politicians. Jonathan was speaking at the Yaga Africa's Reflection Conference in Abuja, where he applauded the conduct of elections in 2023 and 2024 in West Africa. News Central's correspondent, Idong Joseph, has more.
From Nigeria to Sierra Leone, Senegal to Liberia, the 2023 and 2024 elections have tested the resilience of West African democracy amidst challenges such as electoral integrity, political intolerance, and institutional independence. Stakeholders acknowledged progress in democratic governance within the region. At the Yaga Africa Reflection Conference, discussions centered on building on electoral gains and addressing persistent challenges.
The fact that the military regimes are now treated as an aberration within the economic community of West African states speaks eloquently to this progression and highlights the resilience and determination of our people to embrace democracy as a way of life.
While the deployment of technology has improved the credibility of elections, Jonathan cautioned that digital solutions alone are insufficient, as seen in some countries. He called for stronger electoral institutions, legal frameworks, and greater political tolerance among politicians and political parties to ensure inclusive and credible elections that restore public trust.
If we must successfully continue on this journey of learning, adaptation, and improvement of democracy in the ECOWAS region, a pattern of progressive advancement in electoral processes must be established.
A former INEC chairman, Atahiru Jega, also weighed in on the issue, saying that the independence of electoral management bodies is critical for credible elections in West Africa. He urged that without autonomous electoral commissions, democratic progress will be stifled, calling for greater autonomy for electoral bodies.
To be able to get elections right, you need an election management body that can do its work professionally, impartially, efficiently, in order to deliver election results with integrity.
While acknowledging progress in electoral management, stakeholders insist that strengthening electoral institutions remain a priority.
Elections don't just stop with what happens on the day that people cast their vote.
The EU recognizes the importance of strengthening electoral institutions.
It is important to continue working together to protect security, stability and freedom.
They add that beyond elections, there is a need for active civic engagement, calling on citizens to hold leaders accountable to protect democracy. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
President Bola Tinubu has pledged to sustain current reforms and policies initiated by the current administration in its quest to reposition the nation's economy. This followed the endorsement of President Tinubu and his policies by Executive Committee members at the All Progressives Congress National Executive Committee meeting, which held in Abuja. Party leaders, including the APC National Chairman, the Chairman of the APC Governors Forum, and the Governor of Imo State, the President of the Senate, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, all commended the President for the reduction in inflation, among others.
The meeting started with an update of efforts by the National Working Committee to reposition the party ahead of its rivals.
Your Excellencies, in fulfillment of our promise of taking the party to the grassroots, the National Working Committee introduced a new people-centered approach to campaign administration, instead of the usual practice of inaugurating national campaign governorship councils for states in Abuja. The campaign council are inaugurated in the affected states.
President Bola Tinubu then received endorsements from some key leaders of the party on his efforts to reposition the nation's economy, including commendations on the state of the nation.
Be it moved that this august body do pass a vote of absolute confidence on the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the President, Commander, the Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
On behalf of myself, as a former chairman of this party, a former governor of Edo State, now a distinguished senator of the Federal Republic, and chairman of Interior, courtesy of the Okomo Senate President, I rise to endorse the motion as moved by Governor Hope.
Under your stewardship, Your Excellency, our economy has been rejuvenated from the depth of despair to the heights of promise. Just yesterday, the National Bureau of Statistics revealed that our GDP grew by 3.2%.
The President of the Senate, however, urged the leadership of the party not to get carried away by present wins, but to remain vigilant.
I must say that it is not yet Guru. We must not begin to clap with our own hands. We need the Nigerian public to join hands to clap with us. And the only way we can do that is for us to reflect on the elections of 2023. How did it go? Unfortunately, at the presidential election level, we did not do so well. Instead, we ought to have won outrightly.
President Bola Tinubu assured those present that despite the president's successes, he will continue with policies which are aimed at transforming the region.
We are seeing growth. We are seeing gradual return to prosperity.
I promise you, governors and legislators, that we will continue on that progressive path.
The National Working Committee says that it will turn its focus to the upcoming Anambra State off-cycle governorship election. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
The United Nations Children Education Fund, UNICEF, has called on the federal government to reduce its dependence on foreign aid to support Nigeria's health sector. The UNICEF country representative to Nigeria, Christian Munduate, says this will prevent disruptions in delivering quality healthcare services for Nigerians. Munduate made this appeal during the Primary Healthcare System Strengthening Initiative. Our correspondent Joshua Umarai has more.
The Primary Healthcare System Strengthening Initiative, which has supported healthcare delivery in 8 Nigerian states for the last 3 years, is transitioning the program ownership to the respective state governments. The initiative, which ended with a national closeout event in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, was a collaborative effort between the International Vaccine Alliance Gavi, the Federal Ministry of Health, UNICEF, and the 8 participating states. According to stakeholders, the program was designed to enhance routine immunization and strengthen primary healthcare systems.
And we set out some really bold ideas for how that support would translate into system strengthening, into routine immunization, into leadership, into health workforce, to address the needs and the gaps that we had collectively identified. And we're learning what worked well. We need to learn what didn't work well so that we can continue to improve.
Stakeholders, however, urged the government to minimize reliance on foreign aid to prevent potential disruption to the country's healthcare system.
Now, looking at what is happening at the global level, we need to really reduce the reliance on others at all levels. What has happened by this US government decision has shook us to the core, but honestly, I think we knew this was coming because we cannot be forever rely on external support. All of us need to have our own ownership, our own accountabilities and own responsibilities as well.
My dear governors, my dear medical personnel, we are challenged to take responsibilities for obvious reasons. In the long run, we should be prepared in case there's what we call donor doubt, donor denial, donor fatigue, and eventually donor stoppage. If we don't get ready for that, a calamity is waiting for us.
As Nigeria takes full ownership of the primary healthcare system strengthening initiative, stakeholders say the need for sustained investment in healthcare is imperative to ensure long-term resilience. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Nigeria's tax reform bills have sparked debate at the House of Representatives as the lawmakers begin deliberations on the proposed legislation. While the government insists these reforms will boost revenue generation, concerns have been raised over the potential impact on livelihood, businesses, and economic growth.
Hearing on the tax reform bills, attention has been shifted to the House of Representatives, where lawmakers are reviewing the proposed legislation. The bills, the Nigerian Revenue Service Bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Fund Bill, aims to streamline tax collection and improve Nigeria's fiscal framework.
According to the Joint Tax Board, only about 35 million Nigerians pay tax, while only 9% of companies registered in Nigeria are captured in the tax net. This imbalance is unsustainable if we are to adequately fund critical infrastructure needed to build the Nigerian economy to a desirable level.
However, concerns have emerged, particularly with the Nigerian Revenue Service Bill, which appears to be in conflict with the Nigerian Custom Act 2023. The Controller General of Custom urged lawmakers to allow the Customs Act to stand, considering the effort invested in its enactment.
The Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill 2024, Section 1, it provides a legal framework for the administration of taxes and revenue under any law, where Section 42 defines tax to include any duty and revenue accruable to the government. So this particular section subsumes everything that is provided under Section 3 and 4 of the NCS Act.
Also, the Trade Union Congress opposed some provisions in the tax reform bills, including the gradual increase of VAT from 7.5% to 15%, and attempts by the bill to raise tax exemption threshold to 800,000.
Higher taxes will further strain households and businesses, which eventually might slow down the economy. So we are strongly of the opinion that VAT should remain at 7.5%.
In a similar twist, the Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria and the Committee of FCT Imams Initiative, despite supporting the government's tax reforms, also opposed the VAT increase and rejected the proposed taxation on family inheritance.
The Council suggests that Section 146 of the Nigeria Tax Bill 2024 should read that, subject to the provisions of Part 4 of Chapter 8 of this Act, VAT shall be charged at 5%.
The potential reintroduction of inheritance tax, which was abolished in 1996, to avoid this, we recommend expunging Section 4 of Section 3 or adding a clarifying clause.
The public hearing continues tomorrow with more stakeholders' engagement expected over the bills in the next few days. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Welcome back. Nigeria LNG Limited is facing operational challenges due to insecurity on gas assets. That's according to the MD CEO, Dr. Philip Shalbila. Speaking at the Nigeria International Energy Summit, Shalbila stated that only 2 out of 6 trains are operational due to damaged pipelines. This, he noted, has hindered NLNG's ability to meet global demands, particularly from Europe. Shalbila emphasized the need for energy security, praising the government's foresight in establishing NLNG. Meanwhile, Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Ekperi highlighted Nigeria's progress in gas infrastructure development, policy reforms, and domestic initiatives under President Bola Tinubu. The death toll from a military plane crash in the city of Omdurman in Sudan has risen to at least 46. The Khartoum media office said the crash also injured 10 others. The initial death toll of 19 was provided by the Health Ministry. The Antonov aircraft crashed on Tuesday while taking off from an airbase north of Omdurman, the sister city of the capital Khartoum. The crash also damaged a number of houses in the Karari district. The military earlier said that armed forces, personnel, and civilians were killed in the crash, but didn't provide figures. They didn't also say what caused the crash, but the health ministry said that some bodies were transferred to the Now hospital in Omdurman. And it's time for some money talks with Joanna from our business desk. Joanna, I hear that the price of petrol could drop by at least 60 naira in the coming days. Is that going to happen?
Actually, more than 60 naira, 65 naira, and that is as of tomorrow. We look forward to that, especially as it provides some reprieve ahead of Ramadan season. More on this on Business Tonight after this break.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Dangote Petroleum Refinery has announced a reduction in the ex-depot price of premium motor spirits, PMS, by 65 naira, lowering the price from 890 naira to 825 naira per litre. The new price takes effect from tomorrow, 27th of February 2025. According to Dangote, the adjustment aims to provide financial relief to Nigerians ahead of the Ramadan season, while also aligning with the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's economic recovery policies to ease the financial burden on citizens. The latest cut marks the second reduction in February 2025, following a previous decrease of 60 naira earlier in the month. And South African inflation edged up in January for the third month in a row, in the first release since the Statistics Agency updated its consumer price basket. Inflation rose to 3.2% year-on-year in January from 3% in December, lower than the 3.3% forecast by economists, and still well within the South African Reserve Bank's range of 3% to 6%. South Africa's central bank has cut interest rates at its last 3 monetary policy meetings, but its last move in January followed a split decision as it stressed the uncertain global backdrop and potential VAT hike. And a lame duck attempt at a rebound on the NGX, the local bourse breaking a 4-day losing streak. And we're seeing, of course, modest gain of 0.02%. The all-share index is now at 107,798.99. Market cap gained about 10 billion, almost 11 billion. It now sits at 67.17 trillion naira. And if we come to sectoral performances, of course, Generally in the positive, right? We're seeing the banking index down, not particularly responding positively to some of the latest releases from the NBS. Insurance is up 0.83%. Oil and gas is down, driven by Owando stocks, and consumer goods up 0.58%. Industrial goods up marginally as well, 0.01%. We'll see what happens to wrap up this week on the NGX. But that's it on Business Tonight. I am Joanna Mustafa. Stay tuned for more.
Well, it's time for some sports news now with Favor. Favor, before we started tonight, Aruna Quadri, the table tennis champion, was defending his title in Tunis. How did that turn out?
Yeah, fantastic one for Aruna Quadri. It's through to the semi-finals and also to the World Cup in Macau. Many more after this timeout. And in sports, defending champion and Nigeria's Aruna Quadri cruised into the semi-finals of the ITTF Africa Cup in Tunis with a dominant 4-0 victory over Ivory Coast's Oba Kizito. With this win, Quadri has also secured a spot at the ITTF World Cup in Macau. The Nigerian star will now face Cameroon's Baptiste Yane in the semi-finals on Thursday as he continues his quest to retain his title. Meanwhile, in the women's category, Nigeria's Fatima Bello advanced to the semi-finals after defeating Tunisia's Ella Saidi 4-1 in the quarterfinals. With the victory, Bello has also secured qualification for the ITTF World Cup in Macau, scheduled for April 2025. The Nigerian will now take on Egypt's Anna Goda, a two-time champion, in a highly anticipated semi-final clash. The matchup is a repeat of the 2022 final where Goda emerged victorious. Away from table tennis, now to football. Shooting Stars Football Club secured a crucial 1-1 draw against Eyimba in Aba in the trailing match day 26 of the Nigeria Premier Football League. Sadiq Ibrahim's brilliant solo efforts in the 15 minutes gave the visitors an early lead, but Eyimba responded in the 41st minute as Ekene Awaziem calmly converted to finish in the box. Elsewhere, league leaders Remo Stars suffered a shock 1-0 defeat to Nasarawa United in Lafia, while Kano Pillars edged Akwa United 1-0. Lobby Stars fell 2-0 at home to Niger Tornadoes, and Abia Warriors moved into the top 4 with a 1-1 away draw against Kwara United. Enugu Rangers trashed Sunshine Stars 3-0, closing in on second place. Heartland FC under Emmanuel Amuneke were held 1-1 by El Kanemi Warriors, while Plateau United beat Bayelsa United 1-0. Still talking football, Nigeria's Flying Eagles secured a 2-0 victory over host Young Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire in an international friendly at the Stade Félix Houphouët-Boigny in Abidjan on Thursday. Captain Daniel Bamei put Nigeria ahead from the penalty spot in the 63rd minute after Divine Olise was fouled in the box. The 7-time African champions dominated proceedings but had to wait until 80th minute for Olise to seal the win with a well-taken goal. Both teams will meet again on Friday as they prepare for the Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations. Cote d'Ivoire is drawn in Group A alongside Ghana, DR Congo and Tanzania, while Nigeria face a tough Group B test against Egypt, South Africa and Morocco. And now to Federation Cup in Nigeria. The Nigerian Football Federation has released the draws for the national playoffs for the 2025 President's Federation Cup. 10 matches will be played, with the standard fixture being Awudiam FC, Conquerors 4-time winners Eyimba FC, the Abia State final, taking on Oisa FC of Imo State to be played in Enugu. The only playoff match in the women's competition will see First Mahi Babes of Ebonyi face Soft Landing FC of Enugu. All matches will be played on Wednesday, 5th of March 2025. The NFF has warned that non-appearance of any participating club at the match venue may attract a fine of 1 million naira, and failure to redeem the fine will lead to a 2-year ban. And now to the world of boxing. World Boxing has received provisionally recognition from the International Olympic Committee, IOC, a major step forward boxing's reinstatement at the Los Angeles 2028 Olympics. Now, the sport's inclusion had been in doubt after the International Boxing Association was suspended in 2019 over governance, financial and ethical concerns. The Russian-led IBA was officially stripped of its status in June 2023 for failing to implement reforms. Formed in April 2023, World Boxing now has 78 member nations across 5 continents, including Great Britain. The IOC, of course, acknowledged the organization's progress in governance, integrity, and financial oversight. With boxing overseeing independent oversight at Paris 2024 and aligned with the World Anti-Doping Code, the sport moves closer to securing its place in the 2028 Games pending full IOC recognition. And that wraps it up on Sports Update. I'm Favor Itwa. We'll go on a quick break and the news continues.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me as well? He was their manager from the longest till they broke up. Yeah, talk to me. Yes. Okay, we can have conversations. Oh, so we should just be gisting.
What's going on tonight?
Because see, I said there's something I don't understand. What's happening?
Something's wrong.
What's happening? Okay, see here. JJ, can you hear me? Okay, for the second story, that's the Mohbad story. I have two tweets. There's a video that is labeled VO2. There are two tweets. We can read, if we can have them on the screen, and I can read both of them for, yes.
There's just a lot of juicy gossips flying around in the world of entertainment. Not surprisingly, Edewo is here to break it down for us. We hear that Jude Okoye, the former manager of the defunct group P Square, has been arraigned by the EFCC. Can't possibly imagine what he's done wrong now.
Well, you know how it is. It seems like controversy would not just leave the family. From a messy breakup as a group, and right now, EFCC. Definitely. Well, I'll bring all the details shortly.
All right.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
All right, now the details. Now, Jude Okoye, the elder brother of former manager at the defunct P Square Group, has been arraigned by the EFCC on charges of laundering 1.38 billion naira, $1 million, and a little over 34,000 pounds. Now, he was charged alongside his company, Northside Music Limited, before Justice Alexander Oweye at the Federal High Court in Lagos. Now, the charges include acquiring an 850 million naira property in Ikoyi, Lagos, and using a bureau de change to convert $1 million into naira with the intent of to conceal unlawful proceeds. Now, Jude pleaded not guilty to the charges. The court adjourned the case for bail, hearing that's February 28th, and the trial on April 14th. Jude is still being remanded in the Ikoyi correctional facility pending the trial. So that's the update on that. So, Adisha, what do you think? Looking at the situation around this, money. I think
nothing.
No, because
when the EFCC is involved,
yeah,
I think nothing.
What I want to point out is that remember the time they had the issue with P Square and Peter coming out to call out them, Paul and Jude. It was still financial issues. So now maybe, maybe.
So there is a house.
Yes.
There is a property involved. There's $1 million.
$1 million, yes.
In exchange.
Yes.
And they're trying to find out the source of the money.
The source of the money, yes.
And what exactly he was selling. Is it music? Is it cars? Like, where did he get the money from?
Where did he get it from?
And they're trying to tie it to his income and stuff like that. That's someone ratted him out, maybe.
Well, exactly.
Like I said, I do not want to say anything.
Okay. Well, I'm sure this next story, you definitely have something to say.
Okay.
Because it caused a whole lot of buzz on social media. Now, Mr. Aloba, the father of late Mohbad, sparked controversy after expressing disappointment that his son purchased 2 plots of land in his grandson's Liam's name instead of his own name. Now, in a viral TikTok live session on February 26, 2025, Mr. Aloba questioned why Mohbad made this decision, lamenting that he had never received such gestures from his son. Now, this led to backlash on social media when many criticized him for focusing on personal interest rather than respecting his late son's intentions. Now, Some users accused him of prioritizing property over his son's wishes and criticized the mentality of some African parents. Yes, they had to throw that in there. The incident has reignited discussions on generational wealth, entitlement, and parental responsibilities. Now, Adeshewa, there are some tweets I'm going to read quickly so that we can look at it from people who spoke. Now, this person said, our parents bought properties in our names. Mohbad was a musician and can buy properties in his son's name. Mohbad's dad really messed up with the interview, but believe he knows best. We can't love Mohbad more than his father. So, Adeshewa, say something. What do you think?
You're setting me up here.
No, what do you think?
There is just a lot to think here. And I don't want to judge the father. I mean, he's getting as much judgment as you can possibly get when you put family matters online.
Online, exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to go scriptural here. The Bible says that a good father leaves inheritance for the children.
Not the other way around.
I mean, ideally you should your children should bury you, and they should inherit you.
Yes.
It's a bit wonky when you inherit your children, and you throw a fit over it online over not being able to inherit them. It's a difficult situation. I do not know the specifics of it in that family because family is a very tricky thing.
A tricky and dicey thing, yeah.
So there's a lot going on there that we probably don't know.
Yeah.
So, there's a part of that story that's incomplete. That's what I would say. But on face value, just looking at the headlines, you would say something doesn't quite work right.
Something doesn't quite. And that's what a lot of people were saying on social media. Like, come on. He decides it's his son. He would have given it to anybody and he decided to give it to his son. It's just 2 plots of land. Well, that's all on entertainment tonight as well.
Scrolling over that. Thanks, Etewa. And that's the news tonight. But before we go, here's a reminder of our top stories. Senate Committee on Ways and Means accuses Central Bank of Nigeria of frustrating investigation into a 30 trillion naira overdraft. Judge dismisses request for his recusal from the ongoing trial of former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. And death toll rises in Sudanese military plane crash, one of the deadliest in the northeastern African nation in decades. Remember, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, AVO TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Adeshewa Josh. I'll see you tomorrow.